Security Chief's Log. Galactic Year 237,807.701. More security personnel are missing. This morning 9 more crew members failed to report. 4 security officers and 5 engineering crew members have disappeared. As with the previous disappearances, it appears that they dissolved into thin air in the middle of the night. Nerves are on edge and people are looking over their shoulders. In all my years of service I have never experienced anything like this. It has been suggested that no one sleep alone. Despite my misgivings about putting line officers in such a compromising position, I have agreed. And going forward, all senior security and engineering personnel will bunk 3 to a room. Chief Engineer's Log. Galactic Year 237,807.751. I have no explanation. For days now, I have examined the ship systems and can find no reason for the failure that took the lives of so many of our people. I fully expected the captain to implement General Order 19 and execute me for my failure. I am pleased that he did not choose to end my life, but even now I wonder if he did the right thing. Since the life support failure, the other less devastating failures have returned. Perhaps I am the failure. What else could explain why I have been unable to locate the source of these seemingly random malfunctions? Captain's Log. Galactic Year 237,807.788. We are becalmed. I use the language of the ancient seafarers because little else applies. During the night last night, our FTL drive went offline. We are more than 10 light years from the nearest conference outpost, as well as far off the normal space travel lanes. I fear that, unless the chief engineer can diagnose and repair this latest problem, it could be years before we are rescued, if ever. Chief Engineer's Log. Galactic Year 237,807.791. I finally have my proof. It took days of troubleshooting and crawling around in ductwork and access tunnels, but I finally have the proof that someone has been sabotaging us all this time. Deep within the bowels of the FTL engines, I discovered that the energy flow distributors have been removed. Energy flow distributors are so reliable and durable that in the history of my service to the Council, I have never seen one that needed repair. In fact, they are so reliable and durable that they are not even monitored for malfunction. There are no moving parts. An energy flow distributor is little more than a pipe with holes in the right spots. We don't even carry spares on board. I guess I could have one of my best men attempt to make some replacements. But considering the criticality of the machining required, along with the fact that most of my best men have disappeared into thin air, I am less than optimistic at our chances for success. Captain's Log. Galactic Year 237,807.792. Thanks to the Chief Engineer's discovery, we now know for a fact that we have a traitor and saboteur on board. Due to the expertness used in disabling our FTL drive, it is also clear to everyone that the saboteur must be one of the engineering crew. Never in the history of the Galactic Council has a crew member behaved in such a way. We have yet to identify the culprit. Is it one of the missing crew members, or is it someone else who has managed to conceal their identity? In either case, I shall conduct the execution personally when the perpetrator is uncovered. Security Chief's Log. Galactic Year 237,807.794. As per the captain's orders, we are continuing to search the ship. My men are crawling through every access tunnel and mechanical conduit on the ship. But given the size of the Indomitable, compounded by the tragic loss of our military force, it will take days to complete the search. Even so, I have no doubt that we will uncover the culprit. When we do, I will watch with joy while the captain executes that honorless traitor. One thing bothers me though. Although, I can easily see how a single determined person could be responsible for all our technical malfunctions. How is it possible for one treasonous crew member to have affected the disappearance of nearly 20 crew members? Security Chief's Log. Galactic Year 237,807.796. 3 dead. I still cannot believe it. Following the captain's orders, my security personnel were conducting a detailed search of the mechanical areas of the ship when they were attacked. The survivors were so traumatized and unnerved that it took hours to get anything out of them. In their stupor and fear-driven madness, they kept babbling about demons in the dark. Whatever these demons are, they are unlike anything ever encountered before. As near as we can discern, they attack by surprise, in groups. They appear to be more at home in the dark than the light. They are wielding some type of weapon that spits metallic projectiles at high velocity, coupled with a disabling explosive sound that unnerves anyone in hearing range. When these projectiles encounter flesh and bone, they tear through it as though it was tissue paper, maiming and disfiguring the poor victims in ways unthinkable to any civilized race. One of my surviving security personnel had his arm torn completely from his body by these nightmarish weapons. For eons, it has been the law of every civilized race that all weapons must be designed as to either disable without lasting injury or kill outright. Weapons that cause long-lasting or permanent injury or maim have been outlawed on every planet in the galaxy. What barbaric race could have even conceived of such an insidious nightmare that we now face? I cannot even locate any volunteers to recover the bodies of the dead. Everyone is convinced that the moment they enter a dark conduit, they will fall victim to these beasts. Captain's Log. Galactic Year 237,807.799. It is becoming increasingly difficult to maintain order on the ship. A junior engineering officer managed to create reasonable facsimiles of our missing energy flow distributors. However, our attempt at installing them was an unmitigated disaster. My chief engineer and 2 junior engineers entered the mechanical areas of the ship in an attempt to repair the FTL drive. They were accompanied by 4 heavily armed security personnel for protection. They reached the damaged area and began work. Suddenly, they were beset upon by these unknown demons with their monstrous weapons. The speed and fury of the attack was unlike anything our onboard security personnel have ever encountered or trained for. According to reports by the survivors, it began with an explosion that blanketed the dark corridor in a blinding white light, accompanied with a concussion that instantly disoriented everyone present. Then, seemingly out of the various dark corners of the ship, black-clad figures descended upon them with their weapons, spitting the hot lumps of metal that tore through the flesh and bone of the repair crew and security teams alike. 3 of the 4 security personnel were killed in the first moments of the attack. By the time the survivors escaped, there were only 2 left alive: my chief engineer, who is now in the med bay recovering from his wounds, and 1 junior engineer who is now behaving like a frightened child. Word of the attack spread fast, and many of the crew are becoming more convinced that these mysterious attackers are not living beings of any kind. More and more of the crew is convinced that we have angered the gods, and these attackers are evil spirits sent to punish us. I cannot say for sure what I believe, but it is safe to say that no one has ever encountered anything like this before. May the gods have mercy on us. Author's name and the link to original text is in the description.